Okay, today we are on 5-8. This is the rational zero theorem. So today's where everything comes together, okay? So every day before today, I was like, hey, put 4 in the box, but you don't know why, I'll tell you later. Hey, put -1 in the box. You don't know why, I'll tell you later, okay? So that's where today it all comes together. So this is the rational zero theorem. If p of x is a polynomial function with integral coefficients, then every rational zero of p of x equals 0 is of the form p over q, where p is a factor of the constant term and q is a factor of the leading coefficient. That's a lot of stuff. I know that, okay? So here's what we're going to do. We are going to break down all that vocab. Blah, 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 p over q. That's what we're going to focus on, p over q. P is a factor of the constant term. Q is a factor of the leading coefficient. So let's talk about factors, right? If we have like the number 8, something really easy. Factors of 8 are numbers that go into 8 evenly with a 0 remainder. That's what that means. So factors of 8 are like 1 and 8, 2 and 4. That's it, right? 1, 2, 4, and 8 are all factors of 8. So here's where we're going to do the p over q. The p is a factor of the constant, and the q is a factor of the leading coefficient. So let's look at number 13. We're not even solving this. We're just doing the p over q stuff right now. List all possible rational zeros of each function. So these are all possible answers. So if I just gave you this problem and said, hey, solve the thing, good luck, you would have an infinite number of numbers for you to like put in the box. You could put 1 in the box. You could put -1 in the box. You could put 2 in the box. You could put -2 in the box. You could put 1/2 in the box. You could put 1/4 in the box. You could put you don't even know, right? That's crazy pants. Nobody wants to do that. So instead, this p over q gives you the only possible answers, okay? So let's first say what p is. And again, p is a factor of the constant. In this problem, what is our constant? Technically, it's -35, right? I'm just going to write 35 because we'll take care of the signs later. You don't have to worry about that. If you wrote -35, that's fine too. And then q, where's that at? Q is a factor of the LC, the leading coefficient. What's the leading coefficient in number 13? Well, it's 3, isn't it? So I'm going to write 3. So the possible rational zeros is p over q. So I'm going to write all the factors of 35 and all the factors of 3, and then I will make them a fraction, okay? So what goes into 35 evenly? We got 1 and 35. We've got 5 and 7. And that's really it, right? 1, 5, 7, and 35. That's how I list them. And technically, we should put plus or minus in front of each of them, okay? Because 1 times 35 gives me 35, but so does -1 times -35, right? Factors of 3 are 1 and 3. It's prime. If you just put a plus or minus in the front, I'm okay with that. I know you mean for all of them to have a plus or minus. You don't have to put it like 50 times. Technically, you should, though. Okay. So if we do p over q, the first thing I do is I write all of these over a 1. Okay? So it's going to be plus or minus 1, 5, 7, 35. All over a 1. So I took care of that. Now I'm going to do all of these over a 3. So it's going to be 1/3, 5/3, 7/3, and 35/3. So even though those don't look fun, okay, these are the only possible answers to this question is all the pluses, all the positives, and all the negatives. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 16, right? Positive and negative. There's 16 possible answers to this question. If we didn't know this p over q trick, you would have infinitely many possibilities. That's not fun, okay? So you have to do this p over q trick to narrow down what numbers go in the boxes, okay? Even though you don't understand what I'm saying yet, just kind of go with it, right? So let's do p and q, where again, p is a factor of the constant. What's our constant? Technically -18. I'm just going to write 18 because the signs will take care of themselves later, all right? And then what's q? Factor of the LC. What's our LC? 6, right? Make sure it's in order before you say those things, right? If it's not in descending order, you got to check that. So what are all the factors of 18? We got 1, 18, right? We've got 2 and 9, 3, and 6. I just kind of fill them in pairs as I go. Once you try 4 and 5, they don't work, and then you hit 6 again, and then you've repeated your answers. So I know I've hit all of them. 1 and 6, 2 and 3, and if I try 4, no. If I try 5, no. 6, no, and then, well, 6, excuse me, is yes, but we already have it. So P over Q is going to be plus or minus. Technically, every number should have a plus or minus, but I don't like writing it 25 times, so I just do it in the front. So I do all of these numbers, all the P's, over the first Q, a 1. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, 18. Okay, so that's done. And then I do all of them over a 2. I don't write repeated answers. So I'm going to go ahead and write 1 over 2, because I don't have that one yet. But 2 over 2 is really 1. Well, I'm not going to write 1 again. 3 over 2, I don't have it yet. I'll write it down. 6 over 2 is really 3. I'm not going to write it again. 9 over 2 I don't have yet. But 18 over 2 is really 9 right here. So I've done the 2's. Now I need to do over a 3. I need 1/3. I don't have it yet. I need 2/3. I don't have it yet. 3/3 I've already got. 6/3 I've already got. 9/3 I've already got. 18/3 I've already got, right? Those all reduce to integers, so I don't need to worry about it. Or whole numbers or natural numbers, if you want to call them that. Those are all right. So I just divided by 3. So now I have to divide by 6. So 1 over 6 I don't have yet. 2 over 6 is really 1/3. I've got it. 3 over 6 is really 1/2. I've got it. 6 over 6 is really 1. Got it. 9 over 6 is really... Where is that one at? I don't have that one yet, right? So I need 3 over 2, because 9 over 6 reduces to 3 over 2. And 18 over 6, do I have that one yet? What's 18 over 6 reduced to? That'd be 9 over 2, right? I don't have that one yet either. So I know that looks like a ton, but it's less than infinitely many, isn't it? Right? So all these technically have a plus or minus. So double the amount of those, and that's how many possible answers there are. Or that's what the possible answers are, actually. Okay. So we're going to do some. Find all of the rational zeros of the function. So they want to know the answers, really. Okay? So for something like this, sure, if I didn't say that, you could try like factor by grouping, but the GCF here, and then when you write these down, they're not going to match. So like, don't write this down. Just watch me, okay? This is what I would have tried if the directions had just said solve, period. Okay, sometimes they don't give you hints on how to do it. So factor by grouping, I would have said, oh, x squared. I'm left with x plus 10. Oh, nothing, I don't think. I'm left with 31x plus 30. Do these match? No. So factor by grouping didn't work. So what that means is I have to do synthetic division. Okay, so for me to do synthetic division, I don't want to just start guessing numbers. That's not really a smart way to do it. I want to know what the possible answers are, and then I'm just going to check those until I find one that works. When I say when I find one that works, I mean it goes into it evenly. It's a factor. There's a remainder of 0. Okay, so let's do our P over Q. What is P? It's going to be 30, right? And what is Q? That's going to be 1. What are the factors of 30? You got 1 and 30, okay, 2 and 15, where am I at? 3 and 10, and 5 and 6. Once they're right next to each other, by the way, you know you're done. And then the factors of 1 are just 1, obviously. So, P over Q is all of these over Q. Well, that's not hard, right? 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 10, 15. And 30. All right. Before I even do the problem, I'm going to do my Descartes rule of signs because that might save me some time, right? Like if, for example, I find out there's no negatives, well then, oh, shoot, I can just wipe out half those possibilities, can't I? So let's do our rule of signs from yesterday, okay? How many sign changes are in this problem? We've got a positive, a positive, a positive, a positive. Oh, well, that's awesome. No sign changes in the original problem. So that means there's no possible positive real zeros. So that means is I'm not going to check any positives, okay? We can do our negative part if you want to, but at that point it's not necessary. I know don't check any positives, so it's got to be negative, right? So I'm going to check -1 first, okay? I put the 1, 10, 31, and 30, just like always. Don't make the easy stuff hard. You know this. You know synthetic division. Drop the 1, multiply, -1, add, 9, multiply, -9, add. What's 31 plus -9? 22. Multiply, -22, add. What do you get? I don't even care. I know it's not 0, right? 30 plus -22 is not 0. So that means is -1 was not an answer. It didn't work. Other than what I've already shown you, there's no way of knowing which one of these is going to work and which one isn't. Like, if there was, I promise I would show you. Even I don't know. So I'm going to try 2. I just go in order. I usually pick like the easiest numbers I can. If you don't have a ton of space, what's kind of nice is if you put this in pen right here and you do everything else in pencil, you can just erase everything else so you don't have to write it like a bunch. So I'm going to erase the other, well, oopsie, I erased all of it. Oh well. I was just going to erase part of it, but that's okay. Doesn't take that long. So I'm going to put 2 in the box because this is X, right? I'm not solving for it. It's already ready to go. So I'm going to put 2 in the box. 1, 10, 31, 30 again. Okay. Bring down the 1, multiply, 2, add, 12, multiply, 24. Add, what's 31 plus 24? Did I do a positive? Oh, shoot. I wasted your time. Sorry, whoopsie. We can finish it, though. That's going to be, what, 55? Times 2. What's 55 times 2? 110. Plus 30. I don't even care. It's not 0. Whoopsie. I forgot. Don't check the positives. Oh, that was dumb, right? So, don't even check 2, because that was stupid. Check -2 because +2 isn't even an option. We already said, hey, just kidding, don't check the positives. Sorry about that. So I'm going to do the 1, 10, 31, 30. If you're starting to trail off and be like, oh, this is annoying, this one's going to work. Let me save you some time. Pay attention to this one, okay? Drop the 1, -2, add 8. -16. What's 31 and -16? It's going to be 15. Multiply, -30, add, ding, 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 woo-woo! We found one, okay? When the remainder is 0, it means it worked, all right? So I know X is -2. I know that's an answer. So 1 down, 2 to go, right? So I would write this answer as x squared plus 8x plus 15. And they want me to solve it, right? So I want to keep going. This is algebra 1 now, right? You can factor it. Well, multiplies to 15 but adds to 8. You want a +5 and a +3. And what do we do with that? Pull them apart, set them equal to 0 separately. So -5 and -3. So I have, I'll go ahead and put that answer down here as well. And x equals -2. 1, 2, 3 answers, and I should have 3 answers. And they were all, looky there, negative, like we said. We said none of them are going to be positive. They were all negative. So we solved the thing. It's just like anything else. The first step is always the hardest on the new section. Everything else should be pretty easy for you. So yeah, it took me some time to get to -2, but I mean, shoot, that was better than trying every possible number in between 0 and infinity, right? Negative whatever's work too. So I know it seems like a lot, but the better you get, you'll be okay. The more practice you get, kind of a thing. Okay? Let's try the next one. Hopefully that goes a little bit better. So we're going to do the same thing again, okay? We don't really fill in the chart right now. Don't worry about that today. You don't need it, okay? So let's do our P over Q stuff. But before I even do that, I'm going to go ahead and do my rule of signs, okay? So for my positives, possible answers, this is a positive, this is a negative, negative, positive, positive. So I'm going to see my sign changes in the problem the way it is. I didn't change anything. I just wrote it down. So there's 1, 2. So there's 2 sign changes, right? So it means 2 or 0, positive, possible, real, zeros. That might come in handy. It might not. I don't know. We'll see. So now we're going to do our negatives. f of negative x. Okay, I'm going to erase what I had because I don't want to confuse you.
Teacher and students, please excuse this interruption. We do have a few in the day to share with the patients. They are especially in need of coloring books, Play-Doh, and Matchbox cards. Just drop them off unwrapped in the high school office. The deadline is December 8th.
Okay, so I'm going to keep talking. So this is an even exponent, so it's going to stay positive. This is an odd exponent, so it's going to change. This is an even, so it's going to stay negative. This is an odd, so it's going to change. And this doesn't even have anything, so it's going to stay. So how many sign changes do we have for our f of negative x? 1, 2. So 2 or 0, possible, negative, real, zeros. Okay? So really, what did that took us like 30 seconds. It wasn't super helpful because either way they have kind of like the same possibility of happening. On the last one, it was so worth our time because, well, maybe. It was so worth our time because we found out no positives, right? So, like, don't check any positives unless you're an idiot and you do like I did. But don't check positives. On this one, it kind of didn't help us, but I feel like it was worth your time to check. Okay? So let's do our P over Q stuff because, again, I can't factor this by grouping because I can't pull this down the middle. There's too many pieces. It's 5 pieces, so I can't factor by grouping even if I wanted to. Okay? So what's P? Right? 48. What's Q? It's going to be 2. All right? So I need to find all the numbers that go into 48 evenly and all the numbers that go into 2 evenly. So I'm going to make you take a second and try to like find the factors of 48 really quickly. So it's going to be 1 and 48, obviously, right? I usually try 2 next. 2 and 24. Does 3 go into 48 evenly? Yes. It's going to be 3 and 16. Does 4 go into 48 evenly? Yes. It's going to be 4 and 12. What about 5? No, obviously not. 6? Yes. It's going to be 6 and 8. Okay, 7, no, 8, yes, and then you just repeat them, so you don't need to do it again. So now factors of 2 is just 1 and 2, right? So P over Q is going to be plus or minus in the front of the whole thing. All of these over a 1. So I still need my 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, 16, 24, 48. Okay, I did that over a 1. Now I'm going to do all of them over a 2. So that's going to be 1 half. 2 halves I already have. 3 halves I don't. 4 halves I already have. That's 2. 6. Oh, excuse me. Excuse me. 6 halves I already have. That's 3. 8 halves is 4. 12 halves is 6. I have it, right? 16 over 2 is 8. 24 over 2 is 12. 48. I've got all those, right? So the only other ones I needed was the 1 half and the 3 halves. So I've done them all. Okay? So you're going to do synthetic division again. You're going to try 1 because they say 2, and you're going to try negative 1 because they say 2. I'm going to save you some time. I don't want the video to be like 5 hours long. So let me save you time. If you put 1 in, it's not going to work. You don't get a 0 remainder. If you put negative 1 in, it's not going to work. You don't get a 0 remainder. Again, I'm going to save you time. Try 2. It's not going to work. So let's just go to one that I know works. I'm just trying to save you some time. There's no way for you to know that those didn't work. You would have had to have tried synthetic division without me. Okay? So we're going to put, let's see here, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. There's no gaps. So 2, negative 3, negative 24, 4, and 48. Okay? Drop the 2, multiply, negative 4. Add, negative 7. Multiply, 14. Add, negative 10. Multiply, 20. Add, 24. Multiply, negative 48. Add, 0. Ding, ding, ding! We got an answer. Negative 2 is an answer. Don't lose it. Okay? Let's go ahead and be like, hey, negative 2 is an answer. Yay. So we're going to write that down. It's going to be 2x cubed minus 7x squared minus 10x plus 24 equals 0. We're trying to solve that now. Okay? So if we can factor by grouping, we need to. Again, let me kind of save you time. If we factor this by grouping, I'm going to pull an x squared out. I'm left with 2x minus 7. I'm going to pull, a 2 out, and I'm left with like a negative, or excuse me, a 5x minus 12. It's not going to match. This is not going to factor by grouping. Okay? So what we have to do is all of this again, basically. Okay? The nice thing about it is, if something was a factor of the first question, and it didn't work, it's not going to work again, right? So if it doesn't go into that, it's not going to go into that. How do I explain that? So 8, okay? Factors of 8 again. 1, 2, 4, and 8. Does 3 go into 8? No. So is 3 going to go into any of the other ones? No, right? So we're still going to do our P over Q, but we're basically going to start over. So let me put this on the next page so we have some more room. So I had 2x cubed minus 7x squared minus 10x plus 24. And we're trying to solve this now. If you cannot factor it and it's higher than x squared, you're going to have to do your P over Q stuff again. Okay? So my P over Q stuff, again, I'm going to just kind of save you some time. Negative 2 is going to go into this one. But you should do your P stuff, your Q stuff. You got a 1 again, you got a negative 1 again, but it's not going to go into it. Save yourself time. You know that because it didn't go into the original question. So let's just finish this up with synthetic division. So we've got 2, negative 7, negative 10, and 24. Bring down the 2. Negative 4. What's negative 7 plus negative 4? Negative 11. Multiply. What do you get? 22. Add. 12. Multiply. Negative 24. Add. Ding, ding, ding. You found an answer again. X equals negative 2 is going to be a repeated solution for us. So we're left with 2x squared minus 11x plus 12 equals 0. Okay? X squared. Awesome. Algebra 1. We can either factor a quadratic. Why don't you try to take a minute and factor this? I'm going to tell you that it does factor. So even if you've been super confused the whole video, you can factor this. This is an Algebra 1 concept. Bottoms up. Okay? Pause it if you need to so you have time to actually do it. So when you factor this, you're going to get 2x minus 3 and you're going to get x minus 4. Okay? If you can't factor that without help, you need to come and see me later and let me know. I'll help you out. So pull them apart, set them equal to 0 separately. Solve. This is going to be 3 over 2. And this is going to be 4. So there's one answer. There's another answer. And we got negative 2 twice. That's called a repeated solution. That's okay. So I'm just going to write it the one time, though. And our degree of the function was x to the 4. So technically, I had 4 answers. Okay? One more. Even if you've been totally confused, you understand nothing, it's okay. You can do this one with me. This one's a little bit easier. I'm going to go ahead and write it on a new page because it's hard to read that, I think. So on number 29, it says find all zeros. It didn't say find all, I think the front page said what, real rational zeros maybe? Oh, all the rational zeros, okay? This says find all of them. That's kind of a hint that maybe there's some imaginary numbers here. So this one is f of x equals x to the 4 minus x cubed minus x squared minus x minus 2. Okay? If you can factor by grouping, awesome. We can't. There's 5 things here, not a choice. So we have to do our p over q. So what's p? It's going to be 2, right? And what's q? It's going to be 1. So factors of 2 are 1 and 2. Factors are 1 or 1. So p over q is going to be plus or minus 1 over 1 and 2 over 1. And that's it, right? So that's kind of nice to know. So let's do our rule of signs and see if that's helpful or not. So this is a positive, negative, 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 negative. So how many sign changes do I have in the original problem? Just 1, right? So that means 1 or 0 possible, positive, real zeros from the other day. If I do my my negative, f of negative x, okay, this is an even exponent, so it's going to stay a positive. This is an odd, so it's going to change to a positive. This is even, it's going to stay negative. This is odd, so it's going to change to a positive. And this is a constant, so it doesn't change anyway. So I have 1, 2, 3, or 1 possible negative real zeros. So even though that didn't help me as much as that first problem did, it at least leads me to believe that I'm going to have more negatives than positives. So I'm not even going to start by checking positive 1. I'm going to check negative 1. It's not wrong if you do. It's just these problems are long enough. Like, why not make it a little bit shorter if you can, right? So I'm going to put negative 1 in and see if that works. So we have 1, negative 1, negative 1, negative 1, negative 2. No holes or gaps, right? You guys can all do synthetic division. Why don't you try this really quickly without me? So if I'm going too fast, go ahead and pause it, and then you can catch up, right? Drop the 1, multiply, negative 1, add, negative 2, multiply, 2, add, 1, multiply, negative 1, add, negative 2, multiply, 2, add. Awesome! We found an answer. So x equals negative 1 is an answer. Don't lose it, okay? We write what we have left. We have x cubed minus 2x squared plus x minus 2. And we're going to try to factor that, all right? If you can, you don't want to do p over q unless you have to. If you can factor by grouping or a pretend or something like that, you want to do that, okay? So let's check it. If factor by grouping is an option, awesome. So let's see here. GCF, x squared, we're left with x minus 2. GCF is a 1, write it down. We're left with x minus 2. Whatever's written twice, you write once. Whatever's left over, I put behind it. Awesome. Algebra 1, right? Pull them apart. Set them equal to 0 separately. So x is 2. Don't lose it. X squared equals negative 1 plus or minus I. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 answers. And I had a degree of 4. So my final answers are, I kind of like to put them all together. I've got 2 plus or minus I and negative 1. That's all of my answers, which is 4 of them, right? We've talked about it before that imaginary numbers always have to come in pairs, complex conjugates. So if you ever get just like one imaginary number, you definitely messed up somewhere. Okay, I know that was a lot. I'm going to try to go over whatever you need me to in class. If you have specific, I don't understand this part questions, write it down. That way you can remember what you want to ask me the next time you see me. Okay?